Got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome, everyone, to Coordinated Fire Episode 18, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where we rebel by not playing Rebels. How are you doing today, Sean?
It's true. Not many of us, between the three of us, play Rebels right now. So,
No.
yeah, you guys
There's
are
a
on
lot
the,
of them around, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in our community, but us three in particular, we haven't touched Rebels. Actually, that was a discussion I think we had after our local event on Saturday. I think Kyle was saying, like, hey, I'm going to hit some Rebels and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So we're going to change things up a little bit this week. We're going to start with our GT coverage and then go into our local game day we had just recently, and we'll go from there. This past weekend, there was a GT in the UK.
Yeah, Greater Manchester. This was Return of the Jedi Trials GT, TO'd by Gerard Ullenshire. 44 players, very well attended event here.
It was big, and it was won by Peter McCabe.
Mr. Peter McCabe, very, very, I think, well-known UK player. If you're on the Discords and kind of in the community that way, Peter's a great player. Won a perfect 6-0 here, which is phenomenal.
Which is impressive. It was a full 6 rounds of Swiss. Didn't have a top cut or anything. It was a long event.
It was, yeah. And again, we've seen straight Swiss be very popular over in Europe. And I think we've talked before about maybe adapting this to more of our events. I don't know if I would go 6, but I mean, with the amount of players that they had and it being a GT, that's kind of what they needed to do.
Yep. And I mean, I think 6 is totally manageable.
Yeah, across 2 days. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
But it looked like it was a good event. It was definitely clarifying that in the UK, they do not like playing bad guys.
No, I've said this before, and this event really seals the deal for me. Empire bad guy representation really, really low. I mean, we see Aiden down here, and she's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. You don't see an Empire until 11th primary spot. 5 people taking Aiden, 5 people taking GI, 3 Darth Vader Jedi Hunter, 3 Krennic, 3 Moff.
Yeah, there's not much.
Yeah, and a singular CT and a singular Thrawn.
Yeah, but there was tons of Cassian with his various rebel pairings. There was a ton of Kiadi and a ton of Delta running around.
Yeah, 15 players with 63 games with Cassian. That is an absolutely incredible number. Boss coming in second at 47, Kiadi 34. 63 games, though, is, I think, probably at this point unheard of for an event for a single primary, and just really showing Cassian's dominance very early in the meta so far.
Yeah, but so the winning list was, as we said, Peter McCabe. He was running Cassian Andor with K2SO Rebel Commandos, paired across with Princess Leia, Charming to the Last, Bodhi Rook, and Baze Malbus and Truett Imwe, which is a list that we've seen lots of, some variations on it, but the key in my mind is those supports. At this point, they're pretty much the main Rebel shell is Cassian and those 2 supports. His other 2 squads were Jedi Master Mace Windu, Padawan Ahsoka Tano, ARF Clone Troopers, paired with Jedi Master Kiadi Mundi, Jedi Master Shaak Ti, and the First, which the first Narfs seem to be the ones coming out on top more often than not. I really like the First with Ahsoka and Mace, so that makes sense. The Coordinated Fire Strain helps you hit some good breakpoints. And he was playing on Sabotage Showdown, which, again, not much surprise. We know Cassian likes Sabotage. We know that Mace also likes Sabotage for that defensive play style. And all pretty standard loadout. And then in runner-up, we had Rafal Naglik from Poland, actually. One of the 2 Polish players that made it over to the event. Apologies if I mispronounced that. I'm sure I did. But we have Anakin Skywalker with Captain Rex and 501st, Kiadi Mundi, Shaak Ti, Arfs, and then he also had Cassian, but this time it was Cassian, K2, Rebel Commandos with Jyn Erso, Bodhi Rook, and Baze and Chirrut. Also Sabotage Showdown. So, like I said, it's a similar shell, different primary, but same kind of idea. And if you are looking at the event at all, you'll see there's a lot of repetition of that combination of a good rebel list with a good republic list, good rebel list with a good republic list. Surprisingly, there was a ton of Delta Squad at the event, but they didn't place super well. The highest placed one was in 8th place. Second most taken primary, I believe. No, it was the second most played primary, but the most popular one, which it's a new unit, take that with a grain of salt, but didn't do quite as well.
Mission wise too, I'm just saying, if we're going through the stats here, Sabotage Showdown, 14 players. Now I know you were mentioned it was only 33 SPT codes here.
Mm-hmm.
Sabotage Showdown, drastically the number one choice at 14, shifting at 8, First Contact at 4. Never Tell Me the Odds at only 2, which actually makes a ton of sense based on the list that we saw with the Rebels, Cassian, and Galactic Republic pairings. Not much Empire, I think, also is going to have a low representation of Never Tell Me the Odds, because as an Empire player, you might take that list to be battling against all the Rebels and the Galactic Republic Delta Squad that we're seeing out there right now.
As we've seen, Republic tends to struggle with odds, so it's very unlikely they take it. Cassian can do fine on odds, and in fact, I think at an event like this, where there isn't much of those other factions, it would have been a good one to take. But traditionally, Cassian's taken more the Sabotage Showdown mission because he can get around on that a lot better. So it's not surprising at all when the event is mostly those two things. I do note that in 4th, we have a pairing of Cad Bane and Mando, which is nice to see. One of the only 2 Cad Banes brought to the event, and placed very well. That's cool to see. It's a Cad Bane bounty hunters list. So you got Boba Fett, Han and Chewie, IG-88, and Lando and R2. So the supports, more just strong supports, but the pairing's pretty cool. And that was on First Contact as well. So doing something a little more creative. Nice to see someone placing highly with something like that.
Yeah, Ewok list here in 7th place as well too. Another list that we've talked about before. Probably a 2x2 Leia Organa Freedom Fighter with Logray, and then with Cassian and what's the other one here? Yeah, Cassian and Kanan, which I think you could probably flex into probably Cassian Freedom Fighter as well there too. I would think maybe.
Yeah.
Which might be interesting as well too if you needed to do that. So a little bit of flexibility. This is actually a list that I'm looking to maybe look at trying out here post GT.
Yeah. But yeah, it's there's some interesting stuff to pick out here, but in general, it's we said it's a lot of Rebels, a lot of Republic, and I hope everybody over there had fun with it. Is there anything else we want to touch on the overall meta, or thoughts on the difference between there and here?
I think there's a ton of differences right now. We've always seen kind of a push towards Galactic Republic, even last meta when Iden was really dominating more North America. We would see UK events with ton of Galactic Republic. The one thing that I always would have loved to have seen last meta is to try and get more of the North American and the Europe metas together during that time, because there was a lot of UK players saying, oh, just play Obi Hunter into Iden, right? And some of us over here in North America were like, really? What? Is that what you're doing? So it would have been nice to have been able, to have an event to get everybody together. I think the only person that's really done it is Matt, who came in 2nd place at Adepticon, who came over, placed very, very well. So, but we've never really had an event or an opportunity to bring the two kind of communities together. So
that travel makes it tough. So
it does.
I totally get it. It would be nice to see a bit of a clash between the two metas and see how things turn out.
On my wish list for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we had a small game day, did a ranked tournament, but it was something low-key, more a tune-up for our GT coming up. So we did that this past weekend as well. Critical Hit, one of our local venues where we do most of our smaller events. They're a nice place to play, very nice venue. They always have food there you can order, and they're always very generous with pricing. So no complaints there. But Sean, what did you end up playing?
Yeah. So I ended up trying a few different things here. Still kind of on my Empire kick for the next little bit, but I wanted to go back to some things and try some new stuff out. So my list was a Grand Admiral Thrawn, Stormtrooper Sergeant with Dark Troopers, Moff Gideon, Death Trooper Escort with Death Troopers, Grand Inquisitor, Fallen Jedi, Agent Callus, Fifth Brother with Cassian Andor, Darth Vader Fallen Master or V3, and Shore Troopers. And what I was looking to do here was see if Thrawn could still play into the current meta, because I knew that we were going to probably have some rebels there. I knew Kyle was definitely playing Delta, which we will get into that game here a little bit later, which was quite interesting. And I wanted to try some things out in different slots. So giving Moff Gideon the Death Troopers, Agent Callus over OB2, and then putting Cassian Andor in to Empire overall for the Revenge Trigger and all the things that he brings. So the Revenge Trigger, the bomb, and also 9 squad points to be able to bring V3 and Shore Troopers, who were one of the MVPs of the day, actually, for me, and a support that I think I was sleeping on. And I've heard from a few other people are quite good and can confirm they were phenomenal all day.
Yeah, turns out decent defense with protection steadfast, that can carry you through a lot.
It can, and it did. In particular, when I paired the Cassian Andor and the Moff Gideon list, 4 units out of 6 had protection and steadfast, which was hugely impactful in terms of keeping stuff alive, obviously, keeping things within 1 or 2 hit points, because the protection would just keep them alive. And then steadfast, because some of the units I was playing against don't have many shoves on their trees. We are seeing Galactic Republic needing more straight up just displacement, and steadfast can be an issue for them. Overall thoughts here, Andor, he's okay in Empire. It's more just kind of cute. I mean, he loses any sort of rebel synergy. He doesn't synergize with Empire at all, so the move is irrelevant. You're really taking him again for the bomb and for the Revenge Trigger, which were great, but again, very dice reliant. So I had my first round against Robert, where the first struggle he did 3 damage, and then the second struggle he did 0 damage. His own activations, even in Rebels, are not fantastic, and I also found that playing this as well too, I reserved him almost every single time he came up. And then when I needed him to maybe finish off a unit, or I needed an extra body on a unit, that's when I would bring him out of reserve. He was not my go-to at all. Vader 3 and the Shore Troopers, again, what he was able to bring with the 9 points were very much my go-tos over having him activate remotely early within any of the games I had him in.
Yeah, my thoughts on Cassian have always been, if he's going Empire, he wants to be with as many tiebreakers as possible, because that's really the only thing you can leverage in the faction with his abilities. It's nice to get revenge in a faction that doesn't have it, but I would agree with you. It's not like some game-winning trump card. It's just kind of a neat thing you can do.
Yeah. He was able to save me some points. He was able to move Moff Gideon to break a tie. Moving Darth Vader up was quite good too. I mean, I know Vader, when he's not strained, he does have that dash, but to give him a full advance on a wound, to move him up a little bit more, to have him more in position was very impactful. I think it's a good list. It's not something I think I would take to a GT. It would be more just like a fun list. And then moving on to Thrawn, I still just don't think Thrawn's there for this meta, unfortunately. Rebels and now Delta too. And again, we'll get to more of some of the particulars of the game. What Delta can do off of a first turn boss or a shatter point, giving that first turn boss turn, Thrawn just doesn't have counterplay into that, the type of list that you're going to run. It was really tough to see where Thrawn fits for me right now with everything else going on within the meta. I just think he has too many bad matchups that you can run into. And when you're at a GT or a top level cut, you don't want to be coin flipping and thinking, hey, I hope I get a good matchup for my list. You want to be able to go in much more confident than that. And I think for Empire players, Thrawn is too much of a coin flip, and he's too much of a liability. If you hit one of those bad matchups, that is just not going to be good.
Yeah, Thrawn really relies on having that variety of choice with the movement.
Yes.
And when you have lists that are coming across and killing your guys in deployment, it really gets rid of those advantages he brings.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Like the game I played against Kyle with Delta, he took my back objective on shifting. We had the cross pattern. There was nothing I had to do. Boss even took a shot and put 3 damage on my Dark Troopers. And then I flipped one of the battle tactics. Actually, double flipped battle tactics. Even all that movement, it wouldn't do anything, wouldn't help because of the protection and steadfast on Delta.
Yeah.
Again, it had no counterplay. Agent Callus was okay. I only played him once against yourself there, Titus, in our game. I just don't know if a reroll for a single force, one reroll for a force, is worth it. And I think there were scenarios where I much would have wanted OB2's disarm to make my opponents or your attacks worse than to get a single reroll. And again, there were times where it just wasn't relevant, right? Where you and I would do the math on an attack versus defense, and even you and I were agreeing, like, no, you should not do this.
No, because
Right?
it wouldn't have made a difference.
It
Like
wouldn't have
either
made-
I hit
yeah.
the breakpoint more than one dice could make the difference, or it was there's just a lot of cases where it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, it wouldn't have changed anything. Yeah, which is interestingly the argument that some have for OB2, right? Is like, well, what if they don't roll expertise? They're very similar arguments, right?
Yeah.
But I would always rather, for me personally, within my play style, to have my opponent's attacks be worse than, again, paying a force for a single reroll. I'm gonna try them some more. Don't get me wrong, but I'm really leaning towards the Grand Inquisitor OB2 Fifth Brother Squad for Grand Inquisitor in particular, I think.
So my 2 thoughts with Callus is you really want him, like both supports, to be troopers for him, because then you do get the 2 dice.
Yes,
And
100%.
It's more flexible. Like
Yeah.
it's what I've kept saying about it. OB2 is a more powerful effect, but it is limited in range and it is less flexible. Whereas Callus is way more flexible and it's unavoidable. So like you're trading away some of that power for the flexibility. And it's very much playstyle dependent.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Callus's activations, again, nobody's denying that his activations are better, but I think the way that you've described
100%.
it there is great. I still think the run ability on an engaged Fifth Brother, I think, is still really good, or tiebreaker, or moving anybody around, I still think is really, really good, to which, again, you lose that ability with Callus. And again, it could be playstyle things. I'm used to liking Empire very mobile. That's kind of, like I said, last meta. That's why I got onto Thrawn. I liked having that flexibility of moving stuff around and not relying so much on damage.
Yeah. You're also a much more, I don't want to say defensive player, because I don't think that's accurate. You like when things survive multiple attacks rather than that kind of glass cannon sort of play style. So
Yes.
OB2 really plays into that a lot more.
He does, yes. And maybe that's why I had a great day with the Short Trooper, because I was like, I really like these guys, right?
Yeah.
And there were moments too in a couple of games where I felt confident to actually separate them out, right? To grab objectives. I was able to score a 5 in my first game against Rob. We were playing Sabotage Showdown because I just got confident and I separated out the Short Troopers, because I thought, you know what, these guys are tough, and I think where my one guy was, just move him out, in advance with the defensive maneuver, got him there, and I didn't have any issues separating them, which I think a lot nowadays, I think separating out supports can be a little bit dangerous, right? Again, with how much kind of aggro we're seeing.
Yeah. They're consistently durable.
Yes.
And that's very valuable in the current meta.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was my day. I took shifting priorities as my mission. Just quickly going over my games here. First game, as I mentioned, I played against our good buddy Robert, playing Obi and Cam. I was able to win this one. Wait a second here. Sorry. Yeah, so he was playing Obi Mace. I played Cassian and Moff. Sorry, this was a 2-1, 4 wounds apiece on shifting priorities. Again, was able to grab that back objective like I had mentioned. Second game against Ryan, playing Mando's Armorer Mando. Wait a second here. Sorry, Armor and Maul. This one was a little bit tougher. because I was worried about the aggro and damage from Maul. Sabotage Showdown 2-0 on this one, which was great. Again, playing Cassian Moff. My round 3 was against Kyle. So let's talk about this one a little bit, because this was my first taste of Delta Squad and the boss opening. This is really rough.
Yeah,
Really,
I think
really
you guys
rough.
finished your game in a half hour. It was ridiculous.
I lost first struggle on shifting priorities in 2 activations because, again, I was playing Thrawn Moff. I was trying to hit all of my lists, and I realized, and I wanted to specifically try Thrawn Moff into this, and quickly realized within the 2 or 3 activations of the game that on the boss opening, it has absolutely no counterplay. Absolutely none. Empire players 100% need to be playing, I think, Inferno Squad against this. I would have much rather Inferno Squad with Moff, Inferno Squad with GI into this. And even then, I don't know if it has enough counterplay, because he put boss on my back objective of the cross and took a shot into my Darps troopers to put 3 damage into them, which was wild. And then I was just like, okay, what do I do?
So first of all, Kyle was playing boss Obi. Obi was his other one. So that's with Rex and the Republic Commandos. Yeah, it's with that opening is brutal. Like it's really hard to fight against because of Seven Scorch being such good point holders, because boss can run across to your side. It is, I don't want to say it's a glass cannon because they are fairly tough, but like it runs out of steam real fast. So if you have something that can quickly take back 2 or 3 points, you can fight back.
Yeah,
but
which I think
it's tough to do.
Yeah, if I had Inferno Squad over the Thrawn Squad, I definitely think I would have had counterplay, and I think I could have done something here. But a more mobile list like Thrawn Moff just has no counterplay at all whatsoever.
It also forces you to have a good activation at the top of your order deck, or you just lose. You just lose.
Yeah, you just lose.
Because you can't, it's so fast, you can't afford to have a dud.
Yeah, the other thing, too, that I think is kind of insult to injury on this is the protection and steadfast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you're holding 4 points on shifting priorities, or even, like I said, the cross-section of my back one with protection and steadfast, yeah, like you said, you've got to have something that has an instant impact to be able to pull it back, or else, particularly on shifting priorities, you're just done for.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases with a normal game, you can outbody someone if you have a lot of mobility.
Yes.
But when your opponent is instantly saying, okay, I have 4 points on first activation, you don't have time to move things to outbody stuff. You need tiebreakers or displacement, or you need to kill things. And it's a really tough ask, because especially with the protection and steadfast, like you can't push them off, especially not with Obi there. Boss gave everything a hunker, so even if you push them away, they come right back. You need to be able to make that body irrelevant, whether that's a tiebreaker or a displacement, or you need to kill them. And that's a tough ask. There are only so many things in the game that can do it. And especially with Empire, you have those dud activations because the list building is so tight in Empire. They have things that can do it.
Yeah.
Like some of the Inquisitors would be good into that. But again, like Four Sisters, very fragile. So that's a risky proposition into boss. Like it's a real conundrum.
It is an absolutely tough spot. And again, like I said, kind of my first taste of this, and I was telling we were talking afterwards, I can see some of the Iden comparisons here, right? Because this is exactly what Iden was doing on shifting last meta, and can still do it technically, right? Is grabbing 4 points on shifting priorities on that mission set, and it's so hard to come back from.
Yeah, I would argue that Boss has the better opening because he's hunkering everything. Yep. And because, especially if you're going boss Obi, you can't be pushed off, whereas Inferno can. Inferno just has a lot more gas in the tank, where it can just keep pushing that aggressive line, whereas Delta, it can run out of steam.
Yeah.
Especially if he doesn't get wounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you and I played for me, a fantastic game last round. One of the best games I think I've played in a long time. Sabotage Showdown. Yeah, I thought I was out of that first struggle, brought it back, won it, which was awesome. You did end up taking this 2-1. I played Cassian Grand Inquisitor again just to get more reps. Well, mainly the day was about seeing what Cassian and Thrawn were still about here. So Ahsoka and Ki-Adi-Mundi for you. Great game. We always have good ones. They're always tight. So I was happy with this game overall. So the list for me, this is not something I think I would overall stick with for a GT. Like if I was playing in the GT Force Convergence on October 4th, I would still be playing the Gen Con version of Empire with Krennic, Grand Inquisitor Obi-2, Fifth Brother, Inferno Squad, I guess Moff Squad is right? It's Moff, DTE, and Dark Troopers. I still think that list overall is really, really great, and I personally love Krennic. So if I was playing in the GT and I'm an Empire player, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, and like that's a great list.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to our game for a minute,
sure.
And I'll hit it again later, but the Shore Troopers are really the standout there. Like, I think I put 5 attacks into them before they went down. Like, it was ridiculous how durable they were. And I mean, part of that is the supports I have, like, Phil's clones attack, and if they get 1 or 2 through, Protection and Steadfast goes, well, you get a heal. That's it. Just because of how the Phil's clones tree works. But they're still, like, that durability is relevant against almost any support in the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, in terms of their attacks, I mean, they're 6 dice with mediocre expertise, but the pin on 1 is super nice.
I wouldn't call that mediocre expertise. 2-on-1 expertise 2 is on always 1, good.
Yeah. On 6 dice. Yeah. I guess I'll give it a little bit more than that. It's fair. But I still, like I said, I like the pin on 1. You got to dig a little bit for the shove on 3 sometimes, but you can get there. They're not a reliable shove, but if you need something pinned or you need to slow down your opponent, like I said, that pin on 1 is always there from them.
Yeah. So I had Ki-Adi-Mundi with Shock T and the ARFs, Mace Windu with Obi-2 and the first. I had Ahsoka Tano with Nadar Veb, the Phil's clones, and then finally I had Vader 1 with with Rex and the Padawans. So a lot of 3 costs. Every Republic 3 cost I could get my hand on, and a lot of force points.
Yeah.
So this list is basically what I've been tinkering with constantly for the last month to try to prep for the GT. I'm very much set on Ki-Adi, on Mace, on Ahsoka. I've been waffling back and forth with Vader and Kit. So this was another attempt at tinkering with the Vader list. I've been moving that secondary around a lot. I'm not sure what I'm going with quite yet, but I don't think Rex is the way to go, mainly because Rex really likes being around a lot of clones, and if I have the Padawans, and I know the other secondary is going to be a Jedi, there's not much for him to work with. That said, I still really like Vader with Ahsoka. I really like Vader with Ki-Adi. So we'll see where I end up. Hopefully I'll have an answer by next week.
You're gonna have to, because lists are due this coming Saturday, actually. Okay. I'm gonna have to give everybody a reminder. Yeah,
I did not realize that we were locking lists ahead of time.
When we get into our later topic, it's in the player pack. That lists are due this Saturday on the 27th.
Okay. All right. Well, I will have to lock something in.
Make some choices, sir.
Yep. All right. So my games, I started the day with playing against Kyle. And this was actually a really good game. Ended up being Ki-Adi Mace for me against Kyle's Ki-Adi Vader. And it was a long, drawn out, the whole game. We played shifting priorities, and Kyle ended up winning the game 2-1. And I think this was one of the cagiest games I've played in quite a while. Like, his Vader was a late activation, but I stayed basically away from his side for most of the game. Just wherever Vader went, everything just kind of cleared out. I put Obi-2 on the center line fairly early, and then just left anything that was within 2 advances of Vader empty, so that he would have to go for Obi-2 or just do nothing.
Interesting.
And he actually had a bit of a hard time with it. I wish he was on here to talk about it a bit more, but we dragged out struggle 1 for quite a while. We only ended up he had 3 wounds, I had 4 wounds by the end of it. And we went pretty much to time, not quite, but It was a long, drawn out game with very little wounding, just a lot of positioning.
So talking about that OB, it was OB2 in the center, you said? So that OB2 play, would you say that's a prime example of some of the things that we've talked about before, where you were forcing Kyle to change game plans, that it affected where he went? This game was a prime example of that?
Yeah, it wasn't so much anything with OB2. Like that I just put him in the middle almost any time I can, and that's a lot easier with the Chiati pairing.
Yeah.
It was more knowing what his heavy hitters are, because I'm not worried about Shock T. I'm not worried about most of his, like he also has the Padawans, and I know that they can hit fairly well, but they also cap fairly low on damage.
Yeah, and Shock T's not high damage.
And like he's got, I think he has the first with Chiati, and they don't really benefit from the Vader buff, so I don't treat them any differently than I usually would. In general, like it's only Vader and Chiati that really hit all that hard. Barris can be pretty nasty, but that's more for displacement purposes.
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
problem I ran into with this was I played the defensive game really well. I just couldn't keep things on points because he's got so much diceless displacement that all things being equal, like our attacks going back and forth were fairly equal. Yeah. I was really getting the better of the attrition gameplay, but we would have had to go so long for that attrition gameplay to pay off.
Yeah.
Because that displacement, I just couldn't stick to points. And yeah, I had Chiati and Shock T, but having Barris there really made the difference because, she pushes something 4 times and then force pushes something else. Like it's an insane amount of displacement.
It is, yes. I've seen him play that list, the triple displacement and all that kind of stuff. It's if you're not ready for it, it can really throw off your game plan.
Yeah. And it was a tough match. Really enjoyed it. We had a good time of it. Going to round 2, I played into Robert, and we both had Vader in this case. He went Vader Chiati into my Ahsoka Vader, and he had pretty much the identical list to what Kyle had just played against me, except he had the ARFs instead of the 501st, and I ended up playing Ahsoka Vader because I wanted to free myself up for the last 2 games, and this is really one of the lists I'd been wanting to test anyway, and he just clobbered me. It was 2-0. It was a fairly quick game, 5 wounds apiece.
Yes, when I looked over and I was like, you guys are done already?
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, and you're like,
he got me good.
He destroyed me, and I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So props to Rob. He did a really good job. We were on Sabotage Showdown, and he took the advantage and just never gave it back.
Yeah, Rob's a solid player. He's the guy who consistently comes out to our events. Really great guy, super solid player. He gave me a run for my money too. So
always a fun guy to play against. Round 3, I played against Josh. Josh and I think, went for almost a full hour after the other 2 games were finished. So it was a little more stressful than usual, despite the fact that we didn't go to time or anything. It was just everybody sitting there watching. It's like, oh, I'm holding up the tournament. So this was my first game with Ahsoka Chiati, and Josh was playing Cassian Jin, and I thoroughly enjoyed Ahsoka Chiati. We played this on First Contact, and Ahsoka and Nadar are both aggressive enough to keep fueling the Chiati triggers, and Jin, while yes she's very good, can't handle the aggression the way that Princess Leia or Kanan can. Like, you still get the Cassian triggers, but you don't get punished as hard when no one's attacking back into you. So it's a lot easier to put some of that damage in. I was able to get 6 wounds on him over the course of the 3 struggles. He only did 2 to me. And that really is what happened in a nutshell. I was able to turn off a lot of his bodies. I did a lot of pinning. And towards the end of the game, he just had nothing active to contest points with. Every time something woke up, it was immediately shut back down. The only thing I didn't get any wounds on was Cassian, because I frankly don't care a whole lot if Cassian's active. Like, he's not a big threat on his turns.
Yeah, his on activations are very mediocre. And I think that was something I'm going to bring up Nadar here real quick too, was that surprised me in our game, since you brought it up, was how aggressive you play Nadar at times.
Yep. Well, we'll get to that in a second because
Yeah.
we'll get to our game in a second. But yeah, we had a good game. He brought first contact. He was kind of waffling on whether or not to play it. And it's like, you know what? You brought it. Just go ahead, because he won the priority. So, and we had a good time with it, but I needed the practice on that anyway. So I was like, yeah, take that mission, please. We had a good time with it. And I did find that for a while I was considering, oh, maybe I should take first contact. My list doesn't want anything that you get from the clever ploys. I have so much force that it's not really a concern. Either I'm playing Mace and I just have a ton of force, or I'm playing Kiadi, I have those discounts. And so I don't really need force back. I don't care about putting something in reserve. And like the movement isn't so much of a problem. So I think I'm sticking with sabotage for now.
Nice.
But yeah, we had a good game. So moving on to our final round. Again, I played against Sean. We went over this a little bit already, but like you were wanting to mention, Nadar, he can be a very aggressive piece. And I especially was really liking him with Kiadi, because I almost always spend the force when I'm attacking with him to add dice, and his attack tree is really good. His expertise is decent. I would say on the low end of, but still good. So adding those dice makes a huge difference. Like you're going into a primary and suddenly he's rolling 10 dice and can hit 5 damage on 3 or 8 on 5. Those are real good break points.
Yeah, the dice really get him there. The extra dice, the extra 3.
Like his tree is just really good, and I think that's a big part of why I like him. Is his follow means his first activation is almost always relevant, and then he just hits really, really hard, and it's really nice. It's part of why I liked him a lot with Vader, but even with Kiadi, I found he still does his job very well. He doesn't necessarily need the Vader dice. He just needs to be able to pay that 1 force or 2 force once he becomes wounded, which he often does. And Kiadi just means he can get there way easier.
Yeah, you played him very well, like on that, if you're looking from my perspective, the left side of the map, between those 2 points there, you played him very well there. So yeah, it was good.
So, but yeah, it's a unit I know isn't used a whole lot, but I never have complaints with Nadar.
That's an advantage as well too. I think the reality is if you're playing something that a lot of people don't know about or not people not have a lot of practice with, it's valid. And if you know how to utilize that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Meanwhile, I'm always having problems with Shakti. Like, she hits like a pillow, and I don't understand how everybody is playing her up, because I just find the force repulse is the one good thing about her. I don't see that there's a whole lot else there, but it could just be my dice suck. I don't know.
Or it could be just very Titus to love Nadar and not like Shakti. It's so inherently you.
I will say the reposition on 2 is always really nice. That part is great. So
when I was playing her kind of in Bounty Hunter Shell with the mercenary tag, when I was playing her, that was a big deal too, even in that kind of configuration.
Yeah, and she's great with Vader because he gives her the extra dice that she really needs, because her tree is really good. She just never gets more than 1 or 2 through it.
Yeah.
But with the Vader dice, it's a night and day story.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've mentioned a few times that we have a GT coming up, Force Convergence.
Do we? The GT that just got rated certified with the gold badge,
official status,
official and the gold border. That was fun to see today. I'm so happy.
It's real cool.
Yes,
it's going to be our biggest event in Ontario, I believe, in Canada.
In Canada, largest event. If we don't have any drops, nobody is allowed to drop. No drops.
I just want more signups so we can keep going bigger.
Which I think we do. We have a couple. I was talking to one of our good friends and community members, Cam Passman, who said he has a couple more people. So I'm hoping that we can maintain the 32 threshold. And if we maintain 32, it will be one higher than the Table Bound Open, and then officially the highest attended tournament for the game since launch in Canada.
Yeah,
which is huge.
It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to that event so much. So in honor of that, I wanted to go kind of over tips and advice for prepping for GTs and how to enjoy GTs. So wanted to start us off with things that your TO would like to make sure you do before the event.
Your TO. Now, this is going to be an interesting segment because this will tell us how many people attending who listen to the podcast actually listen to this and it got through to them. So,
Yeah.
Okay, if you're coming to Force Convergence, listen up because I'm your TO. First and foremost, I think the most important thing here, and Titus, you have 3 or 4 things, and I'm probably going to add a couple here. Printing off errata cards. I know this happened a number of months ago, but I would not be surprised if somebody comes to this GT and says, oh crap, I still have X old card for whatever unit. Make sure you print off
or
your
they might not even know that their particular unit got errata.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Check and double check, triple check. Did my units get changed and did I print off my errata cards? Second thing, this is one here too that's really important because we have so many great community members now for the game overall who are collecting data for win rates and all that kind of stuff. Kenny from Zion's is a great example that he's been keeping one. Enter your SPT code on Longshanks. This is super important for a number of reasons because it can keep your match entries very organized. And in particular, when you do your SPT code, also there's the slot where you can choose your primaries in particular as well too. Put your primaries in so that when you put your games in at the end of your match, it will automatically filter out your 4 primaries instead of you having to search through the entire list and then making a mistake and clicking on something that you shouldn't be clicking on. And that your 4 primaries are right there. It's just boom, boom, and then you're done.
For those of you who maybe don't necessarily know what an SPT code is, it's just a code that will tell Longshanks your entire list, not just your primaries, but your secondaries and your supports and what mission you took. If you don't know where to get that or don't know how to enter it, send either your TO a message or even just ask on one of the Discords. It'll be really hard for us to walk you through it on the podcast, but if we can message you directly, it's a lot easier. So just reach out to someone, even someone who you know is a regular tournament attendee. They'll be able to walk you through it.
Quick coordinate for our Discord. Join us and ask away. We'll be happy to help you with that too. Number 3, what else you got here? Make sure everything is packed and ready before you leave. Yes, 100%. Every model, all your cards, double, triple check this stuff. We have had people come to our local events at Critical Hit and say, holy crap, I do not have an entire squad's worth of cards, or I do not have 2 models or something like that. It's just good practice. Try and organize whatever you use, your case, if you're using a table-bound one or a big battle foam like I do, try and organize that stuff a little bit too, because sometimes in between the games, you're only getting a few minutes. We generally give 10 minutes between games. But for example, at Adepticon, they left no time between rounds. It was when they called time for the round, that's your game time. Go. Right. And if you're still fiddling around with stuff at your table, trying to grab your cards and all that kind of stuff, it can be very difficult. So just having everything packed, trying to organize it within that and be ready before you leave will be really, really helpful for you. What else here? Yeah. I think definitely, practicing good hygiene. You're going to be somewhere all day around a bunch of other tabletop nerds. Practicing good hygiene is fantastic. Good thing to do. Also staying hydrated. I found bringing just a snack, some fruit, granola bars, particularly if you're going to be in something like a 4 or 5 rounder in the UK, I definitely would have had a couple snacks in my bag for sure to help you keep going. Just mental energy, not too much caffeine, I think is also a great one too.
And this is getting more into just things that will make you enjoy the event more and will make you play better. But it's getting a good night's sleep, eating well, drinking, all that stuff is very good to help you keep that edge, but also just to help you maintain that mental fortitude, to be in a good state of mind, to stay positive. It's amazing the difference that nutrition and hydration can do for that. It's weird because it's like those I think it's the Snickers commercials where it's like you're not you when you're hungry. It's so true. I know it's just a marketing thing, but it makes a huge difference.
It can be. Yeah, because this game, we've always said it takes a lot of mental fortitude. It takes a lot of thinking ahead, right, as well. precision movements, that kind of thing. Just popping back to the TO thing, and it's something that I wanted to talk about, and it's been spoken about before, is judge calls.
Oh, yeah.
Judge calls for me, and this is what I'll tell anybody that's coming to Force Convergence in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to say this, is that judge calls are not something to feel embarrassed about. They're not something to be worried about. It's not going to cause animosity between you and an opponent. For me, as the TO of this event, my expectation is that if players are having an issue with terms of understanding a rule, something that's happened with their opponent, dice rolls or anything, my expectation is that you tell me, because we can't roll back things if you've went a number of steps ahead. It's very, very hard to rewind. It's better to pause the game right there and say, hey, we need the judge, hand up, yell judge, and get that sorted out right then and there before you're like, well, at the end of struggle 1, this thing happened. What should we have done about this? That's a much tougher situation to process for everybody, both TO and players, rather than dealing with it in the moment.
Yeah. And the important thing to keep in mind is calling a judge is not an accusation. It is, you are looking for a mediator who doesn't have stakes in the situation to say, this is the game state as it should be. This is how this should be played. You're not trying to get anyone in trouble. You're not saying that your opponent's cheating. I mean, sometimes you might be, but that's very rare. In general, you're calling the judge because you want someone who doesn't have stakes to make a decision.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah. That prevents the feel bads, right? That's what I was trying to say. It prevents the feel bads after the fact and just makes everybody just feel better about certain situations, I think, overall. So yeah, don't ever be afraid to do that. What else am I going to mention as the TO? Having a spot where you both roll dice before anything changes. Dice etiquette is super, super important, I think, as well. Using your movement tools, right? Not just like, okay, this can go here, right? Or that can go, that has enough distance. Use your measurement tools, your range tools. We're playing in an event at a grand tournament that is a level above your local tournament. And you should play with intent and play with a certain respect of certain aspects, particularly time as well too. I know sometimes decision paralysis can also hit this game for some people too as well, which can be a little bit difficult in trying to keep time equal. I think those are all really
one thing that can help with that is just going through everything step by step. I know that might seem like it will slow you down, but it can in fact make you faster, because you don't have to sit there and think, oh, well, did I do this or did I do this other thing? You're going through it step by step, and you are just making these small decisions rather than trying to decide everything all at once. It makes it a much more manageable. And it also means you're going to play a little bit cleaner, because if you are saying, okay, I'm going to do this move, and make sure that I move it properly. Okay, now what's next? Just try to keep everything precise, but go, like I said, step by step through everything as they are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Is the best way to do that. No one's perfect.
But... Yeah, no. That'll also help you prevent forgetting triggers too.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you do a step by step, okay, what's the thing? Oh, right, this thing, right? Or oh, that thing, right? It'll help you prevent triggers.
So, these are all things for at the event. I also wanted to do a bit of a GT prep and post GT in terms of assessing your play. This is partially tips for how to learn, but also tips for how to maintain a positive mind state. So just a few tips here and there, stuff that I've mostly picked up from other games, but I find also apply very much to Shatterpoint. They're not all necessarily connected, but all kind of related things. So firstly, focus on what you can change, not on things you can't. A lot of these tips are going to come down to dealing with chance, dealing with dice, dealing with the order deck. It's not something you can really do anything about. There are ways to mitigate it, but ultimately, if your dice are real cold or real hot, that's going to affect the game state. It's important to acknowledge when chance is a reason you did badly or that you did really well, because that does happen, but don't focus on it. Don't dwell on it. Recognize it for what it is and look for ways you could have mitigated it, things that you can improve on in your play. It's okay to be upset when your dice do really badly, but sitting there and kicking yourself for the entire next round is not going to help you
Yeah,
because you can't
tilting's
change your
not going to help
dice.
you move forward. Yeah.
Recognize when you're upset and maybe take a quick break. Say, hey, I need 2 minutes to go cool down or something. Yes, that sucks in the middle of the game, but if you are really, really tilted, it might be good to just take that breather, and it might be worth that time. That's definitely something you want to mention to your opponent if you're doing it instead of just storming off. But even if you have to walk away and say, like, look, I'm gonna concede this game because I am so upset, it's better to do that than to drag it out and ruin the event for yourself. Try to keep a positive mindset, though. Like, it's always better to focus on the things that you can change, things that you maybe can improve on, different play patterns, even just like asking your opponent, hey, like afterwards, asking, hey, why did you do this? What's your reasoning there? Because you want to learn what other people are thinking about the game.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, Titus, to be able to assess as well. Like when you go to an event, maybe also trying to figure out like what are my goals here? Like what am I trying to accomplish with this with this event, right? I know there's a couple of people like yourself and Kyle and some others who are looking to do well, right? You want to top 8 or maybe even win the event. And there's some people that want to go more casually, or they like what's on the raffle table, or we just announced a fantastic best painted squad prize as well too, which I think kickstarted a lot of people to maybe, finish up painting, that kind of thing. Assessing what are my goals for this event, I think are really important as well too. And if you can reach those goals, that might help prevent tilting as well too, because you're like, hey, I hit top 8 and I'm super happy with that, or I hit top 4. That's a good day for me, right?
Yeah, setting reasonable, achievable goals
right.
is a
100%.
great way to do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can even be things that are like, I want to be the best Separatist player at the event. I want to win a game with Chief Chirpa. I want to win a game with Veers. Stuff like that, where it's not necessarily I want to win the event, but it's I want to do something that is difficult, that is challenging, that I have put in the practice for and is relevant. Like it can be that can be your goal for the night or for the day, and you can get enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, and I think to hit on the more I guess less experienced, more casual players coming to a grand tournament, don't let the words grand tournament deter you from coming. Yes, it's a tournament where you need to play a little bit tighter, but eventually, like you've always said, Titus, in a 4-rounder halfway through, you're going to get paired with people who are your skill level, right? You're not going to be worried about getting, after that kind of thing when you're going along. And I always tell people, even at our local events, you will leave a better player than you came. And that can also be an attainable goal as well too. And I'll always tell people, just come out, play your 4 games, have a great time, leave a better player than you came. And I would say 95% of the time, the people that I tell that to, they're like, Sean, you're right. I had a great day and I'm going to come to, when's the next one? And that has always been the reaction.
Now, in terms of trying to improve your play and stuff, something I always like to keep in mind is the fact that this is a game that has degrees of randomness. So it's very easy to look at a play and say, oh, well, it didn't work. What I did didn't work. And say, okay, that must have been the wrong thing to do. That's not always the case. If a play that has like a 90% chance of success doesn't work, that doesn't mean that it was wrong. You had a 90% chance of success. That might have still been the right play, even though it lost you the game. Likewise, a play that has almost no chance of success might still be the right play because, say, a 20% chance is a lot better than 0. It might have been your only out. You always want to keep an eye out on, okay, I lose the game here if this doesn't work. That might still be the right play, even though you have a very little chance.
Take the Hail Mary anyways. See what happens.
Yeah, the Hail Mary is better than just giving up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the time. And even in terms of like analyzing your whole game, sometimes you need to keep the long term in mind. A riskier play can sometimes set you better off for success later. It's playing hyper conservative can sometimes work, but sometimes it can really lose you game after game in the long run, and you don't know why, because you're always taking the thing that gives you the best chance of immediate success. But in the long term, might be the wrong thing to do. So always try to keep in mind, like, it's the right play isn't necessarily a guaranteed success. You're not always going to succeed. Sometimes you do everything right and you lose anyway. And sometimes you do the wrong thing and it pays off regardless. There's always stuff you can improve on, but there are things that you did well. There's always things that you did right. And that is an important thing to keep in mind, because it's easy to get disheartened and say, oh, I just suck at this. You need to be aware of what you did wrong, but you also need to be aware of what you're doing right. Otherwise, you're going to be working on the wrong things. You're going to be trying to improve on things that you're already good at. And having a realistic view of your own play is important.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think what can really help there as well, too, when we're looking post-event for things that you can do in terms of what you're speaking there to, Titus, finding a group of individuals who are supportive, a local community, continuing to play, talking to people. Discords are fantastic, Facebook groups, speaking to like-minded people and just saying, hey, this happened during this game and this was the result. What do you guys think about this? Put it through the think tank. That's something that myself, you, and Kyle do. And that was kind of what grew, like, that this podcast was born, right? So we were just having these discussions and we're like, why don't we just put it on the internet? So having, I think, a supportive group and a think tank to go to bounce off ideas off of, I think is really important.
Yep. And again, that's one of the things that our Discord's really good for. It's been
100%.
hopping the last 2-3
Yep.
weeks. Like, it's been crazy busy in there. I can't keep up.
Yep.
It's been really good having all those discussions. One more point I wanted to hit on. When you are looking back at your game, keep in mind that you are making decisions with the information you had at the time. Hindsight is great, but you can't judge a decision you made based on information you had no way of knowing. For example, what's next in your opponent's order deck? That's one of the big ones. Sure, if they have 1 or 2 cards left, you can say, okay, I should have prepared for that. But if they have a full order deck and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done this play because Vader activated next and punished me for it. Well, you had no way of knowing Vader was next.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Yeah.
Don't be hard on yourself for not knowing the future, essentially.
That's one thing I always do. When I lose a game, I'll always look at, like, the top card and then the second one down. And I know I shouldn't do it because I'm just like, oh, if I would have ripped DTE here, I could have moved this there and da-da-da-da. And you go through it mentally in your head. I think we all do it, right? Like, oh, if I would have just turned this one, this would have changed. But
or like, what if I had reserved? Like,
exactly,
that's a common one. Like,
yes. Or if I didn't.
It's important to keep in mind your limitations. And one of those is you don't know the future. Unless you're some kind of oracle, and then please tell me how this is all going to go, because that would be great.
Yeah. Amazing.
But yeah, those are all the tips I had. Is there anything else you have in mind, Sean?
I don't think so. I think, Titus, you hit on a lot of great, I want to say, philosophical stuff. I think that was a very Titus grouping of thoughts, and I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Overall, we are head first in the GT season, so talking about this stuff and just getting out there, I think, super important. It's also going to help us maintain and grow our communities for people to understand, hey, maybe there's just some tips and tricks for you to do, again, when you go to a GT, and again, getting the most enjoyment that you can. For me, overall, just understand your goals. Why are you going to this event? Mingle with your communities and just have fun.
Yep.
We all lead busy lives. Some of us have careers plus kids plus this plus that. For me, this is about, first and foremost, having fun. And I know I harp on, our GT hit this number, or da-da-da-da-da, or this, that, the other thing. For me, this game and any game that I play is a great way to disconnect from the real world, unplug, get away for a little while. And I think keeping that at the forefront, for me, is super important.
It's always important to remember this is for fun. If it's not fun anymore, as much as we love seeing you out there, you need to take a break, because no one is getting crazy rich off playing Shatterpoint.
Nobody's getting any younger either, man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we're all getting older here, and we need to just enjoy.
This isn't a career. This is a hobby. You should enjoy it. And if you don't, find something you do enjoy. Life's too short.
100%. Yeah, cool. I guess I'll end us here with the usual, join our Discord. Again, Titus mentioned, and I'll say too, popping off. People are sharing lists, they're sharing ideas, lots of great discussion across various factions too. Rebels, Gar, Empire, even some Scoundrel talk lately as well too, which has been really great. People showing off their painted squads. We have a really great community here. We're actually almost 100 people in our Discord, if you can believe it or not, which is
Wow.
amazing to me. I can't believe it. Just 3 guys chatting Shatterpoint. It's been phenomenal. Force Convergence. We opened up 4 more ticket slots. We're up to 36. I don't know how many more we're going to open, but if you want to come up, there's 4 open currently. Past that, thank you everybody for listening in. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And Kyle will be back next week.
Yeah, he will. Anyway,
Okay.
have a good night, everybody.
All right.
And yeah.
Good night.